I always look at what my clients struggle with the most. Like, why not build a solution for people that need it, right?
Yeah.
But I regularly hear, I just want this to be better. And what I've learned is that when we're fighting with our body's healing process, we slow down the healing process. So there's the resistance, that friction that happens is when people start to get frustrated with their body. When you get frustrated with your body, your healing capacity and your energy are not unlocked to its maximum potential.
Let's talk tails. If energy cannot be created or destroyed, then where is yours taking you? This episode of Tales with Taylor has a special guest who helps people get their energy in life rowing in the same direction by helping them reclaim the pieces of their energy that are tied up, set aside, or distorted. She uses a combination or energy work of herbalism and coaching to help people transcend a frustrated relationship with their body and circumstances and transmute that tied up energy into usable capacity. It's Lynne. How are you doing today?
I am so good, Taylor, and so excited to be here.
I'm so excited. I don't think I've ever seen my table this full of goodies. So tell me, what is my first goodie that we're going to check out here today?
First goodie. So first of all, we're going to prep. We've got a couple of iced teas here. We've got a couple of flower essences, and then we're going to prep a hot tea for later. So I'm going to get that rolling here in the release. We're going to get this one rolling. So my teas, ooh, that's hot. You did warn me, and I didn't listen.
I did
You
warn you.
totally warned me.
Okay.
All
So
right.
this is release. So
This
are
is
we releasing
release.
energy? Tell me the tale
Yes,
behind
yes.
this creation.
So my teas essentially are formulated to move energy where it needs to go and move either stagnant energy or bring in energy. This one specifically is about when you are ready to let things go. I always think Elsa style, right? Let it go, honey. Like I'm ready for this to go, but for whatever reason I can't.
Okay.
Release creates the environment to do that. It moves energy up through the body. It gets things moving out through your crown and your upper chakras and kind of gives you the ability to just let things go.
Okay.
This is a
May I
fun one.
smell that a little bit?
Oh, yes, my sniffers.
Okay.
All right, that should be good. I'm going to do a little more. I want a little bit stronger today because I feel
go.
it. So there we go.
And
Yeah,
we'll just
that's
let
good.
that seep in there and we'll see.
Awesome.
So we just have a little here, just put it in the middle to let it seep. So we'll see how that looks in a little bit.
So what'd you think of the smell there?
It smelled very good.
As I'm
very
knocking
good.
the stuff over.
So yeah, lots of different herbs, very fresh. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So Release has in it go-to cola, holy basil, lavender. So that's kind of
Lavender.
a little edge of that. Hawthorn, which is really good for the heart space. Mugwort, which opens up your kind of intuition, your capacity to connect with things outside of yourself. It has marshmallow for soothing.
Oh, wow.
Spearmint, you probably noticed just this
Little
light
bit.
edge of mint. Yep, chrysanthemum, which is an incredibly uplifting but calming nervine. We think of chrysanthemums, who would have thought you could actually drink them? Right?
Totally.
And then raspberry leaf, which is a nutritive and really good for your pelvic area and your kind of sense of empowerment. So if you're feeling stuck, it's easier to feel like you're in your own power and you can let things go a little bit more. Like, it's okay. I have everything that I need right here.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so tell me the tale that inspired you to get even into teas. When we first met, you still are a speaker, and a keynote speaker, but now you're adding this whole tea line.
I am, and I'm going to cover this up so it can brew here. And actually, this tale, I think, requires an iced tea. Is that
Okay, yes,
Is
let's
that
do it
okay?
over a nice
Let's do it a
iced
little
tea.
bit. I'm going to start with reflect, and I'm going to do that because the story is a bit heavy.
Yeah,
And
we're reflecting.
reflect is actually, hopefully I won't spill. I'm not always the most
Beautiful.
organized mason jar. There you go.
Thank you.
Reflect is a tea that's made to help really open up seeing something from all sides. So when you're in a difficult situation, think a relationship ending. Cheers. Or moving through something, this one helps to calm, helps to open up your heart. It helps to see other people's perspectives.
That's smooth.
Rose is the star in this one. Rose and linden, rose petals and linden that just help uplift the heart. and it helps when you're dealing with difficult situations. And the reason I'm here, this was actually my first tea I designed, was difficult situations. So many people hide their stories because they're afraid of hurting someone else, or they're afraid of what it's going to look like. But the reality is that we are built off of the things that happen to us and how we reshape them and transmute them. And so I've been really working on how do I tell it in a way that's balanced and also shows how far we've come as a family. But it's still the reality of what we went through. And a lot of times, people, when they're stuck in their own energy, their own energy is tied up, it's because they don't want to admit, for whatever reason, the things that really happened, right? So they can move through them. So what happened, I think you knew me when I was on stage, right? So my battery basically started to bottom out about 2 years ago. And I had a reputation of being fine, right? I can manage anything, right? I can manage anything in the office. I can manage anything at home. And so when my kid's dad died and he told folks, she's going to be fine. The kids are going to be fine. This is Jenny we're talking about, right? Right? Who here hasn't spun the plates and we keep everything going, right? But the challenge was they weren't fine. And I wasn't able to manage the way I thought I was going to be able to. They weren't fine. And I did manage for a while. I managed through the first time that my son threw furniture, and managed through the first time that he grabbed me and hurt my daughter. For a while, I managed by, getting a team to support me. I managed by putting video security cameras in the house and combination locks in the door. And I managed until I stopped managing, until my feet stopped, functioning the way they were supposed to. And my headache stopped going away, even with, epic amounts of ibuprofen and Tylenol. And I still remember the first panic attack. Pulled over on the side of the road, came out of nowhere. But I also remember the first time that I was able to feel safe in my own body after my ketamine therapy treatment, my very first one. I remember the night that the police took my son away. But I also remember the first time I was able to cry about it in yoga class of all places. And I remember the day that the courts made my son a ward of the state. But I also remember the first time I was able to feel anger without shame and turn that into boundaries that protected and preserved me and my family. I remember when my son said he was sorry and meant it. And when my daughter hugged me again after, a year of not being able to have physical contact. So my journey wasn't an easy one, right? I was on stage. No one has an easy journey. I was on stage. Everything was okay. But it wasn't until I stopped, paused, got with myself, got with my energy, and started to reintegrate and move through all of these things that were happening in my life and transmute that into something so powerful that I was able to actually not only heal, but open up my own intuitive abilities. And one of the first messages I got was, go make tea. So here I am.
Wow. Cheers to that. Oh my goodness. Power to you and everything that you've gone through.
Our family is stronger because of it, but it was not an easy journey. And I know it was just as hard for them as it was for me. So yeah. I'm glad we're here.
I am glad you
drinking
are here
teas.
Too. Yes. Oh my goodness. And, look at how beautiful this tea has been made too over here. So there's a little tea check there on that color change. Oh my goodness. So you were just giving messages to, was this post your ketamine treatment that you were told, hey,
it's a series of things that ultimately got me to these three pillars, which is energy work, herbalism, and coaching. The reason I chose them is because, number one, they were the most impactful in my life with the least amount of frankly, invasiveness or work, right? When it comes to how do you pull together the things that are the most impactful at helping us reintegrate ourselves, the most accessible to people. And with coaching, I'm basically teaching people how to align their own energy. So I give them hands-on homework and hands-on opportunities to learn how to reintegrate the parts of themselves that they've left. So they're not just coming to me and saying, hey, fix this, and then calling me next week with emergency. It's really about enabling them. I have people that come to me once and then never need to come come back again. And that was really important to me, that I'm helping them learn how to work with their own energy and helping them to.
So who would be a good coaching client for you? Are we talking about like CEOs? Are we talking about fellow moms?
Great question. So I work with a lot of people, but the thing they all have in common is high performers.
Okay.
And so that, I don't care if you are a stay-at-home mom and your job is to take care of the kids and you are overwhelmed because you are running around trying to do that job so perfectly that there's no space for you in there. Or if you're the CEO of 4 companies, which I have both that I work with. But it's typically people who have been managing for so long that they haven't recognized that it's starting to come through the cracks. And all of a sudden, it's chronic pain, discomfort, overwhelm, anxiety, burnout, however it's showing up for you, they're suddenly realizing they can't spin all the plates anymore. Like this isn't the life they want. It's not the life they signed up for. And how do they get back into the place where they're in alignment with their own body and their own energy? So that's the common thread that people come to me with.
Interesting. So can you tell me a tale of what it would be like to work with you?
Yeah,
What is the process?
Yes. Well, one of my, I had a client a couple of weeks ago, actually, who I've seen maybe 4 times. He came to me because he had long COVID. He was in the ICU in 2020. He has a team of doctors, but he'd kind of stalled out in his recovery. And so we were working on his energy field and cleaning that out. And I got to his occipital and I felt like I felt a pressure. So I feel things in addition to all the tools I have in the muscle testing. Occipital lobe. So it's the part in the back of your head. Do you ever feel like you have that tension?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I ask Eric sometimes just to like pull. Oh my goodness. That is like the best feeling for me. It's just pulling up right there.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's very tight. And so I felt it like a pressure. And what it came across to me as was looking out over your shoulder for him specifically. He was looking out over his shoulder, afraid that someone was watching him, like who's there, what's going on. So I just said, hey, this is what I'm sensing. And he told me that he has spent his entire life looking over his shoulder. And, which I hadn't known at the time, his most recent symptom was his eyesight was going, and he had gone to a neuro-ophthalmologist who had said that there was some disruption between the occipital and the eyesight. It was causing him to see things. It was very difficult to see. It was exhausting him by the middle of the day. And so we released that energy. He was ready to let go of that whole, I'm ready to stop looking over my shoulder every day. He was ready to let go of that. So we released it, and I asked him how his sight was, and he opened his eyes, and it was high fidelity. Like he said, everything's clear, it's high fidelity and crisp, and it's back to normal. Now, some people that sticks, and other people, there's a journey to uncover all the different layers, if that makes sense, of the beliefs, of the emotions, of the things that you've stored by consistently having that coping mechanism of I'm watching over my back. Your body's manifesting a block in the back of your head, right? And it's going to show up in your eyesight because it wants to be heard. Your body just wants to be heard. It's like, listen to me, pay attention to me. I'm trying to tell you something. And my number one job is to help people learn to listen to their body and then do something with that information.
That's amazing. And so do you feel like a lot of these, messages have been messages that the body's been trying to say since childhood? Like it's sounding very similar to like therapy, where it's like they're, always looking behind your shoulder. It always kind of comes back down to something that happened at childhood. Do you find that being the case?
Childhood definitely comes up when it needs to in sessions. And not for everyone all the time and not in the same order. Some people go straight to childhood, and other people it works its way back. We start in their adulthood and we kind of find their way back to childhood. But the big difference is that when you're working with a therapist, obviously you're doing more talking. This one thing is with me, I'm finding things and relaying them to you. And then we work with it more from a body-based feeling standpoint and an energetic standpoint. That doesn't mean people don't talk. It doesn't mean that sometimes they don't need to say something out loud in order to have that release happen. But it's not required. And so people love it because they come to me and they're like, I have the therapist, but I just want to be able to be with it and really let it go for good. Like take the knowledge that's up here and move it through my body so I can actually catch up to what I already know up here, but can't seem to figure out here. And then because I see it and find it and can figure out things like the age that it happened at, et cetera, or I might see an object. In some cases, I'll see a very specific, like something from a specific event that they'll remember. Or I'll be using body code, emotion code, and belief code, which is much more organized and structured. And I can tell you the age, the emotion, the words, the belief. Like it depends on which tool set I'm using. And they will be able to take from that and say, okay, here's what I need to know. And if I can't move forward, then I'll just get a no. I'll get we can't release this right now. So then we have to play the fun game of scavenger hunts. Like, okay, what else is in there and what do we need to know in order to help you move through it?
How do you choose the tools to use within your own practice?
So I started with body code, emotion code, and belief code. I'm actually Yes, I started with those by Discover Healing, Dr. Bradley Nelson. He's a chiropractor, and I picked them because they are rigorous. His certification process is incredibly rigorous. I had to do like 70 to 80 pro bono sessions for one of the levels, and it's very similar for all 3 levels. Your portfolio is reviewed, you're audited, you have to answer questions about it. And so I really liked the fact that I was learning with not only a really solid set of training wheels, and it's very structured, it's very linear. You find like, what is it that I want to work on? You find the energies, you release them, and then you confirm it's done. It's a very, I'm almost going to say as black and white as you can make energy work.
Right.
It's black and white, which my analytical mind, I do have a secret little love of spreadsheets and data. Loved that. And so I started there. And then the training wheels came off.
I like this. It feels more scientific too. Like I've had some issues with things that feel a little too like woo-woo-y, Not to say that there isn't energy or spirituality and things of that sort, but I like having science and data and things. And
Me too. I have a interesting mix of both. So I always say that I move the tools to the person that I'm sitting with. If the person's very science and data, we stick with a logical linear process. And if someone's more willing to play outside of maybe the edge of that zone, then I might expand and use different tools.
Okay.
And it's intuitive which tools I use. So, of course.
Right, it has to be, right?
Yes.
Excellent. So, remind me again, what is this tea that we are drinking?
Okay, so we are drinking Reflect. And Reflect is all about essentially dropping in, seeing things from different perspectives. I liken this to if you've ever gotten that email that sends you just rolling and you're like, I cannot answer right now. I am super upset.
Yeah.
This is the tea to drink.
Okay. Say, I need to take a moment. I'm going to reflect on this and then answer correctly and not angrily. So we have Reflect when we want to reflect on this tea, but we also have other fun teas here. So what else do we have?
Yeah, I'm going to move to Heal next.
Heal. Okay, so we reflected on our feelings. And now we're ready to heal, right?
Yes, yes. So Heal is a beautiful, beautiful, grounding, calming tea. Have you ever had it where you're just, all you need is rest? You need to sit in your crap a little bit, but you don't want to, right? Part of you just wants to make this all go away and get better like yesterday.
Yeah.
This is the tea for you. It calms that impatience. It grounds you. It has a lot of restoratives in there, and it expands your energy field so you can really enjoy the journey, even the parts that maybe feel not so great. So this is the tea that helps bring lightness to heavy situations, if that makes sense. It helps you find that the space to allow yourself to heal when healing isn't, I'm going to go do it, fix it, make it happen.
Gotcha. Almost like the power of the pause inside of a drink. Right?
Yes. Okay. Yes. All
Very
right.
Interesting. I think it was a James Clear newsletter I'm subscribed to. I want to say it said, when you don't have time to pause is the time you need to pause.
Oh, yeah.
It's like when you are so overwhelmed and you don't think you have the time to, it's like, no, that's the moment in which your body most needs to breathe.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Very different smell, isn't it?
Very different smell. I like this one more though, actually. I wonder if I just need to heal more.
Maybe you just need the power of the pause right now.
Right, maybe. No, this one's very, like, they're both very tasty, but like this one I like a lot.
Yeah, it has like it not spicy, but it's got like a hint of that woodsy.
Yeah, and I like that it's like it pops at the very end. It's like you sip it, you don't really, and then it's like, ha!
Yeah, I love that description. I'm gonna have to steal it.
Okay, you can take that.
This one has a lot of beautiful traditional Chinese medicine herbs and hormone tonics and stress adaptogens and things like that kind of just really help you settle in and just nourish and soothe the body.
So how did you discover Heal and formulate
this? So Heal was designed because I knew I always look at what my clients struggle with the most. Why not build a solution for people that need it, right?
Yeah.
But I regularly hear, I just want this to be better. And what I've learned is that when we're fighting with our body's healing process, we slow down the healing process. So there's the resistance, that friction that happens is when people start to get frustrated with their body. When you get frustrated with your body, your healing capacity and your energy are not unlocked to its maximum potential. So if you want to increase that capacity, you have to learn how to be one with your body. And so the relationship often starts with my body's doing this to me, to now how do I see my body as an ally, to a friend, to eventually how do I see it as me? I'm doing all of this. This is me. And so that process is what I help people move through as they're working on their own energy and then moving more into coaching the longer that they work with me. It's learning that process so they can do it for themselves. When they're frustrated and sitting in between sessions. So that is what Heal is designed for, is all of the people who are like, I'm just getting impatient and I want this to be done.
Yeah, why do you think we have such a disconnect of what our mind thinks we need and should be doing and what our bodies are saying we need and should be doing?
That's a great question. I think we've lost sight of how to listen to our bodies. Because our mind has, we can translate that. But instead of translating that, we've built our own kingdom up here. And we've done that because our culture encourages that.
Yeah.
Like we encourage, it's that I'm going to call it over academized approach, right? So we can think through or power through or discipline through every problem. But then what we do is we cut ourselves off and we only use this part of our body. But the reality is we have more neurons in the rest of our body than we do up here, right? I mean,
so true.
Think of a gut. One of the top sources of neurons is the enteric nervous system. In fact, if you disconnected it from the vagus nerve, it would keep functioning.
Wow.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, they say that your gut's like your first brain because your digestive system is one of the first things to, actually formulate when you're, in the womb.
Yeah.
And so,
So learning to listen and translate is the magic, because then we can start to work with that information and use our mind as an ally in the process, because it's an ally.
Yeah. And then perhaps even just a matter of cultural shifts in what we should be praising. I think, being a workaholic, it's almost like a badge of honor. Oh, I'm a workaholic. I only got 3 hours of sleep last night, and we shouldn't be wearing that as a badge of honor.
Yeah. When people say, I don't understand why you're doing this now. You used to be the workaholic person. I'm like, don't you see the connection?
Right.
It's just one level deeper.
And so tell me the tale that helped you transition from workaholic mindset to more of this balanced, focusing on what your body truly needs.
Yeah. So it started by necessity when my kid's dad passed away, as the kind of sole breadwinner, needing to figure out how to juggle all that, but still wanting to be their mom and show up for them during a difficult time of their life. I made a massive amount of shifts during that time of really thinking through what does it mean to actually build something sustainable. And then I would say the most important thing I did was understand the voices in my head that were causing or contributing to me continuing that cycle. So things like every time I did something good at work and I had that praise and accomplishment, right? Just grooming myself here, right? It fueled something in me.
Yeah.
But the reality was, shouldn't I be able to get that myself? If I really loved myself and I'm really in tune with where I'm going in this world and I have everything that I need, then why do I need outside accolades or performance or anything like that to feel accomplished? Wouldn't just living my best life and showing up every day fully be enough? So the more that I started to look into those voices, both those that came from outside of me, pressures I got from other people, my own, reinforcement, suggested, all those different belief systems, rewriting those and figuring out how to get it to the nervous system out was a huge part that helped me break that.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you were your own coach first.
Yes, although I hired people along the journey too. I'm very good at picking up the phone and saying, so I know this is going to be hard for me, so I am hiring you for the next 12 months to make sure that I don't follow.
We actually get this done.
So yeah, it's one of the things, all great healers and coaches are always working on themselves and hiring other people to help them, because that's how we grow beyond our own blind spots. So I absolutely do that. I have someone right now I'm working with, and I rotate every year or so into different teams of people that have different gifts and superpowers to help me break through. So
wonderful, and probably different perspectives and ways.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I'd love to know, though, the tale of your ketamine therapy. I actually recently just had someone here, Bronwyn Davis, who does ketamine therapy. And so, it's something I'm learning a little bit more about. And I just love to hear from someone who was on the other side, not administering it, but actually getting the therapy. What was that like?
So my experience was, what I found was really beautiful is that we took a lot of time to set intentions for the session. So what is it that I want to understand that I can't currently understand that is locked in my subconscious somewhere? And so for me, my very first session was, what does it mean to feel safe? How do I feel safe? What does that look like? Because of the environment that I was in at the time, safety was my number one. Like, how do I actually redefine and find my own safety within myself, trust myself to actually keep the boundaries and protect myself and my family and work through some of the tough decisions I had to make. So safety was a huge thing I was working on. Ketamine for me allowed me to see what I could not see because I had so much noise in my nervous system and so many stories that I couldn't actually see or feel safety. So when I woke up, I actually had an experience where I was falling through my first body. I say woke up, but when I started coming to, I went to my first body and then I'm like, oh, that wasn't the body. I'm going to go to the next one. And I fell through 7 bodies before I landed in my body. It's, wow. I know it sounds weirder than it is, but,
you were going through,
I was going through it's the out of body and then coming back.
Okay.
And when I felt that, I realized that was trust, knowing that even though this wasn't the body, I was going to get there. I wasn't just going to fall and land somewhere. And I knew fundamentally I was okay. And that safety, that trusting of my body was my first message that I got from ketamine therapy. And these messages then, I got a series I think I did 10 sessions over the course of a year. Okay. Every session I had messages that I got that I was able to then start to say, now I'm going to go live that out. How do I capture this in my day-to-day life on an ongoing basis without the treatment supporting me? And so it was incredibly, after the first one, I stopped having panic attacks. Didn't really have one after that other than a few, which were precipitated by activities that essentially made complete sense that I would have had a panic attack after. But I wasn't having the daily, 3 times a day out of nowhere ones anymore. And I was able to start rebuilding and reclaiming my own energy. So it unlocked an idea of what was there that I just couldn't feel or see yet. Wow. Yeah.
Just hearing the stories too from people that Bronwyn has helped. It's just, it sounds like, those first sessions can unlock so much. And then, there's things you're not even aware of that were the issues.
Yeah.
So as we continue, with our teacher, I see some more T's. And so is there a bit of an order, or do you prescribe based on what their issues are or what they're going through?
So for great question. If you are, you're gonna, maybe your science mind may or may not like this.
Okay.
We'll see. I tell people one of the big things I want them to learn is how to feel what feels good for our body, because intellectually the process is easy. Which problem am I? Which problem am I focusing on right now? And then I pick up that T, right? So that's the intellectual part. But the part that I think is even more powerful is to learn to be drawn to something and to trust that. If I'm drawn to this flower and I just want to have it in my house, there's a reason for that. And this is about getting past this mental layer we put on to that body knowing, right? And how do we start to connect to the body knowing that's there? So yes, you can always look and say, where do I need the most support right now? If I'm working with someone, I will tell them where I think they need the most support. But also I want people to start to learn to feel it and say, ooh, that one just sounds really good. And then pick it up and watch how their body responds. That one smelled good to you. It feels good to your body. It's probably good for you.
Right. I probably need that pause and that calming. And that's honestly why I do love doing these shows in particular. I love having just a moment to have deeper connections. You and I, we've known each other for a while, but how much have we really just sat and talked and learned about what is it that you're doing or the tale that got you to where you are. So really, I love using, these moments just as a bit of a pause to just, be curious and learn.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. So it's amazing.
And then, so do you do any kind of work within organizations? Is there any way to partner? And, because especially when I think of a workforce, one of the, biggest issues that people have are employee burnout and turnaround. That having someone that has a program, perhaps like yours, where there's coaching, but then there's actual, herbal healing potentially. Is there any way to do, partnerships within corporations?
There is actually. And so what I usually recommend we do is I have a workshop to start. That's like a 90-minute all-team workshop called Unlock Your Flow. And it helps people learn the 4 steps of how do they step into their energy. So it's how do you understand what it feels like to be in flow? How do you then find where is flow taking you? How do you clear hurdles and roadblocks to your flow? And then how do you actually become the flow? Recognize that your energy is the river that you're kind of rowing on. And these are very accessible. So meaning that if people aren't into I would say more the woo-woo side, like you said. All the activities are very simple, guided visualizations that go over really well. I've done them with groups of tradespeople. Many of the people I work with, it's the first time they've ever done like a guided visualization or something. So I try to keep them really simple, really practical, a couple of minutes long. And then we have interactive activities. And we can even center that around a work thing if you want to make it even more accessible to your employees. Like how do we say, what does success at work look like for each of them? So that they can define that for themselves, because the more that they can set their own boundaries, communicate clearly, understand their needs, work through their own blocks, the more the company flows as well. So there's benefits on both sides. So that's a 90-minute, great team building, great learning, but it also gets feedback from the team if they'd be interested in something like that. And then it can branch out into either a series of monthly lunch and learns, like we do monthly workshops, or quarterly, depending on where companies want to be at. 90 minutes, and we would curate the topics for what came up for the team and what's most important for the team. I do a survey process and gather data as to where they are. So we're curating all of the topics to meet your specific company's needs. And then we can also pair it with things like a tea program for the company, et cetera. And then one-on-one services if you want to kind of add that, I call it wellness benefit, if that makes sense for your team. So there's different layers depending on where people are at and how much they, how big the need is and how much they want to make it just kind of slide right in with what they're doing every day. So try to make it easy if we can. That's the goal.
Well, yeah, because burnout and turnaround, that is a very big expense when it comes to a business. It costs so much more to get a new employee trained and, hired, trained into the right position than it is just to support your fellow workforce. And so, this is a very unique program where it has, the coaching, but then I feel adding the herbal teas, like I can imagine, everyone's just sipping on the teas while they're listening to you, just getting more centered with your messaging.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And then I also have, to your point, so I also have a partnership program that I have with other providers or people that are focused on making change, personal growth experts. So Penny Zenker is actually a wonderful speaker, and she is the focusologist. So she speaks on reset, or her latest book is her Reset Mindset. So it's a 3-step process to step back, get perspective, and realign. So how do you hit the pause button and how do you develop a practice and turn it into a habit so you're able to hit the pause button, see the wider perspective, and focus on what matters and let go of the rest. It's a great book, super practical. So we designed a tea for it.
Wow. So you designed, so people can come to you and say, I have this book or I have this program. What would be a perfect pairing?
Yep. And so all the herbs in here move the energy through the solar plexus to help with empowerment up through the third eye, and it essentially focuses on creative problem solving. So we have ginkgo biloba in there. We have other things that help with that mental kind of cognitive performance, but we also have some soothing elements. And then all the flavor notes are meant to kind of elicit a bright, it's like a citrus mint kind of profile. So it's a good little like pause button in your day. So this one is one we did to help with kind of accompanying her program to help people.
Is that right there to smell it, the reset?
Oh, yes. That's right.
I gotta smell it. Excellent. And then since you were a little girl, what is that? Is that like a blueberry?
That's like that's a rose hip.
Oh, look at that.
So the rose, I do rose petals and rose hips, depending on the tea.
It smells so pretty. Like, it smells like it shouldn't be drank.
I think that's a good thing.
I think, no, it is a good thing. Like, it's just so pretty. Like, you know, it just smells so pretty.
It's one of my favorite tasting teas, actually. So.
Yeah. So tell me the tale of little Jenny. Were you just like in the garden with a bunch of herbs growing?
I didn't think I had anything. Like, I did not think I was an herb person or anything when I first got this kind of nudge that I needed to go forage. I was like, forage? Okay, I guess I'm foraging now. Making medicine? Like, what am I doing? I was making tinctures from brittle bush to help with my headaches and like all different things.
Wow.
And I did not think that was me as a kid. But when I went back in the archives, I'm like, actually it was. I was out in the field. I was the girl making dandelion paint. You know, you'd kind of crush the things and then try to paint something with it, or I would try to weave baskets out of the grass in the field.
The grass,
All the stuff that I played with as a kid, and just I never connected the dots that was in me. I think I went so far away from it because I was so type A, data driven through my entire career and got incredibly successful doing that I lost that part of me. And the reality is the beauty is when they both get to come together.
Yeah.
Like when they get to play and feel and think and process and have that, you know, intellect and bringing that together. That's the power.
It's like being a whole person.
Yeah. What is that?
Right? Oh my goodness. That is amazing.
I want to pour you some tea.
Yes,
by
look
the way.
at this color. If you don't mind just bring it up a little. Look at how that color has gotten so beautifully amber in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so please remind me, what is this one?
So this is release. So now that we've kind of got a good mojo going,
release.
This is really all about letting go of things. So what are you ready, Taylor, today to let go of?
Oh goodness, I'm the one that's supposed to be interviewing.
I
don't
know.
know.
I wouldn't be.
Oh gosh, what am I letting go of? Letting go of fear that things will work out.
Yeah.
I do feel sometimes I let fear come over me, thinking of the what ifs, the if that's, the but yet why do I waste the energy and time of wondering what ifs when everything is fine? And so I think it's about being a little more present.
Yeah.
Which has been a practice I've been working on, I'd say, for the last 6 months or so. Every morning, I actually write down something I'm grateful for. It's the first thing I do.
I love that.
It's just to try to just get my mind in the right space and the heart space of, no matter what, everything's okay because my kids are healthy, or everything's okay because I woke up on time. You could, it varies. Sometimes it's not even that big. Everything's okay because my coffee maker turned on at the right time.
Yep, which is like that matters. That matters. Yeah, and sometimes when we have that, it's really good to identify what that fear is and then transpose it into an affirmation that almost directly goes after that. Does that make sense? So.
Yes. No, I feel like, I guess my biggest fear is I do have a fear of being bankrupt because I saw my dad, that was the only time I've ever seen my dad cry, was when we were bankrupt. And so I'd say that's my biggest fear.
That's a big one that looms over a lot of folks. Like, even when we feel like we have enough in the bank, it's like, but we're making investments, we're taking risks. You and I are actually on a similar wavelength today because today is the last day. My last payment from my sale of my last business just came in today.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm now, this is it. We're going.
Yeah.
And, and it's like all in. And so we, facing those things and saying, okay, so what is that? So what would that powerful affirmation be that you would replace that fear with?
I know I have the power and capabilities to make the life that my family wants.
Oh, I love that. And that you want to.
Yeah, and that I want, Yes. So I'm part of that family.
There you go.
No, that I and my family want. Yes,
I
have the power and capability.
I love that. And what did it feel like in your body when you said that out loud?
Scary a little bit. But no, I am very confident. I've always been very, 2025 will mark 11 years with Eric and I running this business.
That's amazing.
And I know, and everyone's like, that's amazing. But I never take the time to pause and reflect and celebrate that. I'm just like, well, we got to get to 15. We got to get to 20. We got to get these other milestones. But no, I should reflect on that. I should pause and notice that, no, you're doing the right things. I have the power and capability to continue to make the life that I want and is great for my children and family.
Yeah. So as we drink, let's say, I release
the
fear
of
being bankrupt. There you go.
Yeah.
Let it all go. Elsa style.
I feel like little like tingle. See, you see, I have like a little bit of goosebumps going on now.
That is the most common reaction or response people get with energy work is either a calming, an opening, a sense of expansion, or a chills. And that just means you're getting yourself in alignment and you're doing the things that helps your body function on all cylinders. So I love that.
Is there ever a tale that your body will tell you if it's not the right thing? You know how you said that, you either feel calm or you get those goosebump chills of excitement.
Restriction and tension. And that does not mean it's not the right thing. It means that you got to explore it. There's something there. Like if you ever get the answer like, yeah, I need to do that, but then there's a restriction and tension. The restriction is the thing to explore to figure out, is that a block for you going after what's really important to you? Everybody's different, but most commonly people will describe it as like their chest gets tight. Okay. For me, it's my head, like this part of my head or the side of my neck. When the side of my neck goes up, it's because I'm trying to control things too much instead of allowing them to happen. When it's up here, it's more I'm overanalyzing. So I have different parts of my head that will actually flare up for different things. If my feet are going, then that's usually I'm not being bold and following the steps that I know I need to take. Oh, wow. My feet will flare up because that's your movement through the world. So yeah, it's kind of like feeling how it shows up and learning for you. And then being able to say, okay, I need to explore this. Is it something I need to let go of? Do I need to channel, kind of call in that gratitude or affirmation? Do I need to be with this right now? Because it's actually something I can't just make go away, right? I got to sit with it. But what does that look like? And you get lots of tools in your tool belt the longer you do this work for yourself. So
that is excellent.
Yeah.
Now, I'd love to know the tale behind you choosing your brand and your brand colors.
Oh, yeah.
You could have had a smiley face. You could have had a puppy, but you chose a phoenix.
I did.
So tell me a little bit about that.
I did. Well, my last company was a butterfly. And it was activate your ideas. It was about dreams taking flight and the practical step 1, 2, 3, 4 that it takes to take something from dream to reality, right?
Got to have a chrysalis.
All the things. But when I started this, I knew, so this is my personal brand. And then under it, I incubate. So when ideas take off, they get spun out as different organizations. And so I knew that this brand would follow me, right? This is one I can hang on to and take care of. And it's my name. So we're going to call it that. Take it. Yeah. And the phoenix is really that symbolism of rising from the fire. It's transmuting energy. This is, how do we not shy away from the parts of ourselves that are hard? How do we instead love them, embrace them, pull them in, and make them the fuel that powers us? Heal them, work through them, whatever it means that we need to do so that we can become that warrior. We can become that rebirthed phoenix that can change the world and make an impact. And ultimately, that is my goal. It's always been to change the world. So thank you for asking. That's the phoenix. The colors are because I just wanted something bright and edgy and fun. And orange is happy. It's all about like power and creativity and sunlight. And so orange and yellow and all those colors really work well.
And it's a welcoming color too. Like orange is definitely a consumer like color where people can be attracted to it.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Oh yeah. No, that's why you see like a Home Depot is an orange. Orange is very rarely, but when you think about when orange is used, it's supposed to be more of a like, hey, everyone's welcome. Everyone come in here. Let's work together, And so, like Home Depot, for an example, being orange. So orange definitely has a lot of life in it. And it's unique too. It's definitely more unique brand color than you find with your general blues. Oh, I love blue.
You have a very unique blue though. I love your blue. It's very on.
Thank you.
Love it. You walk in here and it's like, I got it. This is the blue.
Excellent. So I always like to know then, what's your favorite animal with a tail?
Oh, favorite animal. Oh, tiger.
Tiger. Okay. Team cat, team big cat. Love it.
Yeah, I've loved tigers since I was a kid. I have a visualization of them like rolling. It's this tiger that could be so powerful he could like wipe you out in a second, but instead he's lazily rolled up next to the river sunbathing. And I'm a kid and I curl up right in his stomach and I know I'm safe. And I'm like, kind of like that.
That's nice.
Yeah. Not that that's ever happened, by the way. So anyone has a tiger here that wants to do an experiment, call me.
Yeah, let's try it. Right? Oh, wow. That's beautiful. I do love tigers, too. I'm team cat. So anything that's a cat or a big cat, that's definitely on mine.
There you go.
And so in addition to this book, are there other books that you've read or any audibles that you've heard that, are tales that have really stuck with you in your journey of life?
Yes. So many. I would say... Alchemist have you read The Alchemist?
It's on my list. It's on my list of ones to get to.
Yeah, that was a really impactful one for me.
Okay.
I have had a lot, but that's just the first one that's coming to mind right now. I'm currently reading the Psalm, what is it? The Psalm of the Wild Built. I think I got that right, which is an amazing, amazing allegory and tale about kind of a different version of a future world, and it's a monk and robot. And so it's about this monk that goes out, and it's a future where the robots became sentient and then went their own way. But it's a very different version of the reality of robots becoming sentient than we may be programmed today in today's society.
Right.
One where actually they wanted to be good to the earth.
To people, into the earth. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's a very, very different reality, and so it's neat to see they come into contact with one another. The first monk and robot that have talked in, however long since the great birth of the sentience, and it's an amazing tale of a different possible alternate reality. And I like to explore the good sides and the hard sides of things that are happening in our world. That makes sense. It makes me think about all the possibilities and not limit myself to just the fear-based that we are all pre-programmed and pre-wired.
Yes.
Like this is our wiring. We're all predispositioned to look for threats, to find them, to avoid them, to keep ourselves safe. So I think we have to work as humans to see the other things too and bring them in and incorporate them. It doesn't outshadow that we still have pain, but it can definitely lend a lightness and a balance to what's possible.
Nice. Love that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who watch this show are fellow business owners or people who are, entrepreneurs striving to be successful business owners. As someone who has successfully launched, a couple of businesses, what would be, some of those first tips or mindset suggestions, or just something to help them kind of carry on? Because as we all know, year one can be one of the hardest years.
Get comfortable with fear. Fear is your friend because it's going to tell you where your edges are. So don't shy away from it. Like if you feel fear, okay, I'm feeling fear. Great. Let's figure out what that is. And is it serving me or not? What do I want to do with that fear? Don't be afraid of it. And I mean, so many people avoid doing the things that they have to do. And if you're afraid of it, chances are pretty good you probably need to do it. Yeah. So like your intuition does not speak in these strong toward or away responses. It speaks in like this sense of grounding and knowing that it's the right thing to do. So if you have that sense that there is something that you need to do, but you're afraid of it, you're avoiding it, there's other things in the way, then lean into that resistance, figure out how to move through it, or just do it. As my friend Kara Poppett, I was recently on her podcast, Big Freaking Change, and her whole book's about this. Do it, take action, and then you'll be ready.
Okay.
But that's a huge thing that worked for me is I did not know everything, but in all of my businesses, I've basically come to market with an idea. I synthesized it into a possible offering, and I just started talking to everybody about it who would listen for feedback, not to sell them, but just to say, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm charging, what do you think, does this solve a need in the market, where do you see the holes and the flaws? And you very, very will quickly, you'll rapidly iterate. So just go out there, talk about it, sell it, put a one pager together. It doesn't actually matter if it's right. It's going to change 50 times.
Yes.
That's not the point.
True.
The point is to break through that first period and move into getting out there. And I've consistently landed my first customers very quickly. I mean, I started doing this work November 1, and I had my first customer that same month. I had 36 customers by the end of 3 months. Not for my teas. This is for my energy work services.
Okay.
So I had 36 clients by the end of 3 months.
Wow.
My last business, it took a few months, but within 90 days, I had landed some clients. So if you really just go out there and do it, you'll find someone, and then just let it go from there. Learn what you're going to learn, and then just don't lock yourself into anything. That's a big thing. Yeah. Long-term contracts when you're first starting out are not a great idea. Put renewal periods, put end dates, give yourself a chance to iterate, because your pricing is going to change, your offering is going to change. That's the whole point. So.
Right. And I think one thing that you said there that people really should take note on is when you said you survey people at first and ask, would this be of value? Is this something that you would like to see? I think at the end of the day, a lot of people get afraid of selling, but as long as you're sharing a solution, you're not really selling. You're
Yes.
just sharing a solution to someone's legitimate problem. And so as long as you provide value, whether it's through quality teas, through coaching programs, through a combination, through a great pie that just makes you happy, it doesn't matter what the actual, product or service is, as long as you're providing a need and helping people.
Yeah.
That's what you need to keep in mind, I think, and just make sure you're serving and helping.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that.
So
I'm launching something, so I want to throw some of this in.
Do you throw it into this?
You can, but I'm going to throw it in your water if that's okay.
Okay,
So this is Abundance. It's a new flower essence. We haven't talked about my flower essence lines yet.
No, let's talk about flower essence.
Okay, so flower essences are essentially, they're lighter energy. So the medicine, there are phytochemicals in plants, right, that have actual chemical responses in your body. So not only am I working with the energetics, but I'm also working.
Taste it.
It's because there is no phytochemical. It's diluted to the point where it's like kind of a homeopathy of flowers. Imagine that you're taking a flower and you are putting it in a flower or a leaf or something like that, and you're allowing the energy to go in there without having any of the chemical constituents. It's a much lighter, softer medicine, but I felt today like this might be actually really good for you. This is Abundance, and it is curated with the majestic palm and prickly pear essence and howlite, and really is made for finding abundance during scarce and lean times, or when you're feeling less abundant. So it's about finding the moments, the rosebud thorn kind of analogy, lessons and blessings. Like, how do we find abundance in all of it? And I've been using it the last month, and I've had it's helped me with a lot of the mindset shifts that I am looking to make. So anyway,
how do you even get started with formulating? Like, that's what I just like, how do you even go, let's start with the base of this and add a little bit of that. So, I love cooking, but this feels more like a bake. I don't do baking. That's too scientific for me. So how do you do this?
So I have I went back to school and did some herbalism education. Obviously, when I decided to go into this career field, I'm like, I kind of got to know what I'm doing. So I did go back and get some good solid education on like what herbs do what, the chemical structures, like all that kind of stuff. I work with them optimally where there's contraindications. But I always start with the name and the tagline. So the name is always one word, and it's what is one word that would capture the essence of what you would want. Like, I, Taylor, want to reflect right now. I want to release. I want to heal. Like, let's make them very painfully obvious. Because I was solving a marketing problem in the industry right now. Teas are like, this is a digestive tea. There's a million. It's unclear what they do, who they serve, what specific things that they solve. And so I wanted to make it less about my personal brand and more about the tea. So I made it really bold letters, really clear, and then there's a tagline for each one. So the taglines are all structured a question first. So like you can see, I'll pull one out here. Yes. Actually, what are we drinking? We're drinking Release, aren't we?
We are doing, yes, this one was the Release.
Oh, it's the last one I find. Look at this. Nope. Oh, where we go? There we go. There we go. Ready to let go, shed the anchors holding you back. So it's a question like, are you ready for this? Do you want this? Is this what you're feeling? Like stuck in a rut is one of them, right? And then the second part is, okay, what will this help you do in one sentence? So I start there. And then from there, I look at where does energy need to move in the body for that to happen? So what type of phytochemical response am I trying to create? What organs and systems and glands do I want to be activating? Do I want energy to be upward flowing or downward flowing? Because different herbs bring things through the body in different ways. Wow. And then I start to formulate usually up to 15 herbs. Some of these have less, but most of them have between 10 and 15 that are balanced together to create that state. I have a rule. Everything must taste good. Even if you accidentally leave it out overnight, it better still taste good the next morning when it's been steeping all night. So nothing's too bitter. Nothing's too intense. Everything should be really palatable and enjoyable.
Everything was so smooth. Like I'm also more so a coffee drinker, but yet like I'm finishing all these teas, and I think a lot of times like there's coffee drinkers and there's tea drinkers. And now granted, being pregnant with my kiddos, I started drinking more teas. You're not allowed to drink coffee, but like these are legitimate good, like legitimate good. Like they are smooth. I don't know if it's just because you're talking, but I do feel like I feel tingledness and things.
Thank you.
I just keep, having the tingles.
I like that. The tingles feel good. We should all have more tingles in our life, shouldn't we?
No, we really should. No, this is definitely very, very good. And where do you source all of your product? Like, where do you source the herbs and everything?
Yeah, so I have a couple different providers. My rule of thumb is if I can get it organic, I do. USDA certified organic. So it's going to be something like Mountain Rose is one of my providers. I do use Frontier Co-op some. I use a little bit of Star West Botanicals. Occasionally I have a couple of local apothecaries if I'm like, I need an ounce or two of something because I'm only going to have it at the tiniest bit. But usually I'm buying in bulk, obviously. And so Mountain Rose would be my main provider. And then there's occasional ones that are harder to find, especially if I'm getting into traditional Chinese medicine. There's some herbs that just are not as easy to locate. But again, as much as possible, which I would say most of my herbs I can get organic. There are a few that I struggle to, like jasmine is an example where I've just really struggled to find it organic. And I try to put that, I have that on all my stuff so that if for some reason it's, I put it in there, at least everybody knows. But
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so tell me like the tale of Chinese medicine. You mentioned, there's ancient Chinese medicine. Like what is so profound about Chinese ancient medicine?
I think, so I have training in Western herbalism. We touched on traditional Chinese medicine. We touched on Ayurveda, which is the Indian, traditional Indian medicine. There's also Native American medicine, which actually doesn't fold into Western herbalism, which so that's a whole nother beautiful avenue to walk down because of our own traditions. Then you have South American, different indigenous peoples in South America that all have their own traditions. So some herbs are more universally used across different practices and traditions in similar or different ways. The traditional Chinese medicine, some of their herbs are unique. So like, for instance, I use silk tree bark or mimosa, also known as joy bark.
Joy bark.
In some of my formulations, because it just has that beautiful uplifting effect. I know I worked with it for several months when I was in kind of more of a funk. Okay. I used it regularly to help just kind of lift the funk, and now I'm off it. Again, it's herbs are meant to be guides and companions for periods of time while we are working through our own rebalancing process. So they're gentler than, generally speaking, I find them to be gentler. And I try to just use them for as long as I need to find that myself, right? It's almost like they're pointing the way. Hey, remember what this is like? Let me just like nudge your body a little bit in that direction and give you that little reminder, refresher. But there's just some beautiful herbs I just have not been able to find in Western herbalism that I love. But acupuncture would be coming from that tradition as well. So they work extensively with meridians. They're probably the most, of all the practices, they work the most with the meridians, which if you're looking at energy channels in your body, the chakras are kind of like the main electrical pole, and the meridians are what carries it through all of your organs and systems. So kind of think of them as little wires that go through your house, right? That's my analogy. I
like that. No, it's very
So a lot subtler energy flow. And so in keeping your meridians moving is a huge part of what I help people do energetically. And that tradition is more from traditional Chinese medicine. In fact, I'm doing some Oriental acupressure classes later this year, so I can kind of up-level my own knowledge in that.
So it sounds like you're constantly learning.
Constantly. I'm in like 3 classes right now. So
right? You're just like this class and this class. That's amazing. Because then, they say if you're not learning, you're dying. You got to keep that brain moving. And so, which one is your favorite, or is it dependent on?
It's dependent on the day.
I kind of had a feeling with that.
Although I do love Illuminate, which also is going to be launched in July 2025. I've been testing that one out for a month and got really good feedback for that one. And that one is about finding little sparkles of joy, if that makes sense, and really kind of blowing them up and making them bigger so that if you're struggling with just kind of grabbing onto that happiness, it kind of helps blow that one up a little bit. So I'm excited for that one. Yeah.
That sounds, the one good thing about these two, or not one, there are millions of good things, but something that I think is important is that these are ways to help you without an addiction.
Yes.
A lot of people, they'll, pour, this is actually a whiskey glass, and it looks like there's whiskey in it, but it's not,
I know. I always, when I get on an interview and I have a glass of something that looks like that and I have it in a low ball, I'm like, I'm sure people are jumping to all kinds of conclusions.
We're just drinking whiskey this whole time. But it's non-addictive, similar to the ketamine, treatment. These are natural, the world's giving you these medicines, and you can use them without without having, that addiction. Like I know people whom, are addicted to various of, pharmaceuticals of sorts because they feel like they need it to have clarity or they need it to go to sleep. And, this is something that, it sounds like you want there to be a, expiration date.
Yes,
say,
I do.
When you're using.
I do. Because I think we should always be moving and growing and evolving. And as we do, our body needs different things.
Yeah.
So let's keep, playing with different things. And then there are periods of time where I go light and I just kind of don't do anything because I really want my body to just settle in whatever it's meant to be right now. So, and this is where the intuition part comes, teaching people how to really recognize what their body needs and feeling empowered to make those choices for themselves is where I see the biggest growth.
Can you give someone a tip on what can we do to help us better, get in tune with our own intuition?
Yeah. It's funny. I just sent a newsletter out today where I actually gave a little tip. So
okay.
I think I told you this earlier, but there's your intuition is like a siren call, right? It's like this thing that's going in the back of your mind that it's not aggressive, doesn't push you, but yet it doesn't let up until you get you there. It's very patient, but very assertive. And so learning to recognize that siren call and then follow through on its call is one of the most fun, early steps. So I recently went to the ocean because for 3 months I had been hearing, you need to go to water.
Yeah.
You need to get to the ocean. And so Wednesday I looked at my schedule and I was like, Penny, you want to go this weekend? So we drove out to San Diego and had a beautiful weekend.
Fun.
So much healing happened, right? Being in the water and just letting things go, the obligations of everything, the fears, all just setting that aside so I could come back fresh and ready to tackle this next chapter of things for myself. And learn when you follow through on that, great things happen, I find. I can't guarantee anything. So I think the first assignment is figure out what that siren call has been saying that you've maybe been ignoring, and then go follow through on it. Find a way to follow through on it. Mm-hmm. That's one. And then the second tip is go to your fridge, open it up, and just kind of let yourself relax. Where do you feel pulled towards? Let your body actually move towards something in the fridge that when you need to eat, right?
Yeah,
you're feeling that need, I'm feeling peckish and I need something in here. Let your body show you what it is that it needs and kind of start to realize, oh, I actually can do this. When I go to a grocery store, I can just let my body relax and I'll feel a pull. Okay, I guess I'm going to the freezer section now. Right? Our bodies can lead us, but we are always trying to forcefully lead it. There's a marriage between mind and body that you allow that to happen, but then you have the governor, right, of your beautiful mind and conscious understanding that's stepping in. So play with that a little bit and see if something draws you in. And if you hold it close, do you kind of lean into it or do you push away from it? Little things to get in touch with how your body talks to you about what's good for it.
Yeah, and just taking that moment of pause to actually recognize what is happening.
Yes. And then after you consume it, did that feel good, right? And what about it felt good and where did it feel good in your body? Back to that pause, really letting it settle in, because then you're creating the repetition and the habit that now it can start to move on autopilot the more you do that.
That is excellent. So, where we're going to put all the links in the show notes, but where can people go to get these teas, the tinctures to add to your water, your coaching, everything about it?
Yeah. So hellojennylynne.com. That's Lynne with an E is the easy place to get everything. You can get to my tea shop there. It's all either if you're local, you can do pickup, but mostly it's just shipment. So I can deliver it to your doorstep. Makes it easy on everybody, I think. So, so that's the easiest place to get to everything. And then I also, if there's any sort of complimentary sessions or anything like that, that'll all be on my site as well. You can also reach out to me. So I do have contact information on my website, but jenny@hellojennylynne.com. Ask any questions that you have. You can book 15 minutes to just chat with me about what excited you about this call or this episode or anything like that. And let's see what kind of magic you're ready to create. I love it.
Excellent. And then when they make the tea, I'm still a little tea newbie. So when we're making the tea, how much do we use, to make?
Generally,
how much do we need?
I say 1.5 teaspoons per cup.
Okay.
You can do more or less depending on how long you're going to brew it and how strong you want it. So for a pot like this, I would probably throw in 2 tablespoons and, kind of make the whole pot up. I usually make things 1 liter at a time and then have it iced. I mean, I don't know where all of your viewers are in, but we are in Arizona and it's very hot.
It's very hot. No, definitely having the cool tea is nice. Although I just love the soothing of warm beverages on my throat and things. So that's why I still always do the hot coffee every morning. I do like the hot teas over an iced tea, but those are delicious.
Yes. Yeah. I will usually make it at night, have a cup hot, ice it the next day, and then drink it iced. So I get kind of the 1-2 punch. So
well, you did say that it has to still taste good the next day.
That's my rule.
That is very important. Yes. And so, with only a tablespoon or so, one of these bags can last you quite some time. Do you sell it as a bundle to get all 4 of the needs?
That's a great question. So I have a bundle for the smaller one. So I call it a sampler kit. If you want to try a little bit of everything and aren't sure which one, I do a sampler kit that has all of the little ones in it. And then what was the question? You had a really good question and I totally don't. Food.
Oh, you're totally fine. I was wondering, when someone's purchasing, are they able to get a bundle of all of the whole program basically?
You know what? I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
I'm going to have to go make that happen.
Excellent. And then if someone was unsure of which one to go for, is there any kind of complimentary strategy session or discovery session to say, this is my situation right now. I'm feeling stuck. Which tea should I have?
I do have that, and you can book it right on my site.
All right.
And you asked how long it lasted. That was the question I missed. If you do a teaspoon and a half, you can depending on the tea, about a month, give or take. So we did a teaspoon and a half and a cup every day. So.
And the goal is it's going to help you push through whatever you're working through. So you really only need that month, and then you're going to move on to the next tea.
Exactly.
This is excellent. And just my last question for you is, what tale do you wish you would have told your younger self?
I'm going to say that it all matters. Like, that's not the right word, so I'm going to seek a little deeper. But the sentiment is that everything that I'm doing builds together. Like it felt disparate at times through my life, if that makes sense, how all the puzzle pieces were fitting. Mm-hmm. But now I'm over 40. I'm getting old. Sorry for anyone who's like, but you're getting to that point where you turn a corner and you look back and you're like, oh, that's how the puzzle all fits together. It all matters. The spreadsheets, I use spreadsheets all the time in calculating and formulating things. The data, the intelligence part of it all fits together with the intuition. It doesn't have to be an either or. Creativity, art can come together with science. Let go of the idea that it has to be either or, and it can be and or both. Mm-hmm. That would be my words of wisdom I would give my younger self.
Excellent. So those are the words of wisdom for you. I always like to say you can have your cake and eat it with a fancy fork.
Oh, so, I like that. I like that. I'm totally going to get a fancy fork.
Totally right? Exactly. So have your cake, eat it with a fancy fork. Definitely make sure you look at all the links in the show notes because these teas are absolutely delicious and you will find the perfect one to help you work through whatever it is that you're going through.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Taylor, for having me. I had a ball.
This was so great. I'm just so full with deliciousness.
Good.
Thank you for watching Tales with Taylor. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the Financial Potion YouTube channel to never miss an episode.